Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started a few minutes early, so as you finish breakfast this morning, I would ask you to draw your attention up front as we start the program. My name is John Latimer. I'm on the board with the Hagerstown, Washington County Chamber of Commerce. I also chair our Government Affairs Committee, and so on behalf of that committee and our board, I'd like to thank each of you this morning for being here to hear about the state of our city. Before we do get started, none of these programs, none of these things that the Chamber of Commerce does would be possible without the sponsors that make all of this happen. So before we do get going this morning, I'd like to ask the president of Wright Gardner Insurance, Christian Wright, to come up front and say a few words.
Thank you. I just want to welcome everyone to the State of the City. As some of you may know, next year is Wright Gardner's 100th anniversary. For those 100 years, we have operated out of virtually the same location, within 10 feet of the original location, in downtown Hagerstown. We support the downtown Hagerstown. It is the heart of our community, and as such, from time to time, it needs tended to. So I, for one, am excited and interested to hear what our leaders will tell us today. And again, thank you for coming, and hopefully you enjoy the program.
Thank you, Christian. This morning, this is actually going to be podcasted, so we'd like to take this opportunity to thank After 5 Productions, who handles the AV work this morning, and also Antietam Cable. Both of this event will be available to you through both of those mediums after it's over this morning. I would like to introduce some of the elected officials, some of the people that are very important to this community that are in the room with us this morning. Starting with Congressman John Delaney, his office, we have Diana Modelsky. From the city of Hagerstown, and you're going to hear certainly a lot more from these folks here in a little bit, but we do have Mayor David Geisberts. Councilman Christian Alshire. Councilman Marty Brubaker. Councilman Louis Metzner. Councilman Don Munson, and Councilwoman Penny Nye. Representing the Washington County government this morning, the President of the County Commission, Terry Baker. Vice President of the Commission, John Barr. Commissioner Ruth Ann Callahan. Commissioner Jeff Klein, and Commissioner Bill McKinley. From the Board of Education, we have the President of the Board, Dr. Justin Hardings, Vice President of the Board, Paul Bailey, and Board Member Donna Brightman. Two final people to recognize. Last week we did celebrate the Washington County Business Awards, and we do have two award winners with us this morning. Representing the Hagerstown Community College and the Going Green Award is Dr. David Warner. And the Leading Edge Award winner this year was Bayer Technologies' Dr. Justin Hardings. With that, we'll get started with this morning's program, and I would like to introduce the Mayor, David Geisberts, to the podium to introduce the first video this morning. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. Family, friends, colleagues, elected leaders, it is a pleasure to be here and report to you on the state of the city of Hagerstown. The city charter requires the mayor every year to, and I quote, "Each year shall report to the council the condition of municipal affairs and make such recommendations as he," and I think we need to change this, "or she deems proper for the public good and welfare of the city." So here I am, to give you that report. Our vision in the city of Hagerstown. Hold on a second. Our vision is a diverse and business-friendly, sustainable community with safe streets, strong neighborhoods, and a clean environment. And our mission is to be the municipal location of choice for residents, businesses, and government agencies by providing the highest quality services at the lowest cost. Friends, the state of our city is strong. We are fundamentally and fiscally sound. Pardon me. Fundamentally and fiscally sound, and we are full of opportunity and potential for economic development and growth. We face challenges that many cities face, but we have had many successes, and I would like to introduce the first video, which shows a look at our successes over the past year.
I love Hagerstown because of its great neighborhoods. I've lived in my neighborhood since 1954 and have always had wonderful neighbors.
I love Hagerstown because we have one of 4 accredited art museums in the state of Maryland, and that makes us special.
I love Hagerstown because of Barbara Ingram's School for the Arts and that it's located in the Arts and Entertainment District.
I love Hagerstown for its history and for its dedication to the historic preservation of such structures as Jonathan Hager House.
I love Hagerstown because I'm able to continue my education while close at home.
I love Hagerstown because of the wealth of the little jewels that I find when I explore the downtown area.
I love Hagerstown because it's a great place to raise a family and it's a great place to come home to at the end of the day.
I love Hagerstown because we're finding new uses for historic buildings.
I love Hagerstown because of all of the great events that bring family, friends, and the community together.
I love Hagerstown because of the people. We are a diverse and caring and giving community whose neighbors are always looking out for each other.
I love Hagerstown because this is the city I was born and raised, and now the community I protect and serve.
I love Hagerstown because of the diversity and the culture people bring to the city.
I love Hagerstown because it's a great place to do business. The business community has a terrific relationship with City Hall, and the prices for both residential housing and commercial office space are incredibly reasonable.
I love Hagerstown because it is a friendly, walkable community with great vintage architecture.
I love Hagerstown because of all the places I've lived, I never have to fight traffic getting to work.
I love Hagerstown because it combines the friendliness and convenience of a small town with the features and attractions of a much larger community.
We have so many reasons to appreciate our community, and these are just some of them. The City of Hagerstown, along with our neighbors and those seeking to be our neighbors, are dedicated to creating visible change in our city. This building, the Mulberry Lofts, is just one example of those efforts. A private developer worked with the city to transform the former Action Products building, and now that developer is participating with city incentives to attract tenants. There are already 6 businesses committed to relocating to this downtown building, bringing jobs and enhancing our city center. The City of Hagerstown is committed to building community, and this is how we made it happen in 2012. The city ensured its continued financial stability through maximizing our current use of resources. During FY 2011-2012, the city's ratings were affirmed by Moody's Investor Service with a rating of AA3 and Standard & Poor's with a rating of AA- in connection with the city's most recent sale of general obligation bonds.
We continue to invest in our neighborhoods by strengthening partnerships with our residents and working together to create visible change.
Seeing the neighborhood and the city work together, even the city's committee work together, was quite impressive, and it was just reassuring to the group that our input really mattered, and the things that we see that can make our neighborhood better is responded to.
The Department of Community and Economic Development, along with engineering staff, worked with the historic City Park neighborhood to slow down speeders by adding traffic calming measures on Summit Avenue.
The city is working with the county to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood around the former Army Reserve building. This council acted quickly to finalize the sale of the building, which will become part of Washington County's first senior center. To support home ownership efforts in the community, the city partnered with Habitat for Humanity, selling 3 city-owned single-family homes to the nonprofit organization.
Kids along Locust Street and the surrounding neighborhoods have a new place to enjoy and play. Where vacant buildings once stood, you'll now find Greenewalt Park, named by the neighborhood residents in honor of Margaret Greenewalt, a notable Civil War figure who lived on West Washington Street.
We usually go to the parking lot, but there's usually all these churches, there are a whole bunch of cars, and then we all just stay in the house because there's not enough to do. But now we're happy that there's a park, and now we can come and hang out at our park.
The city is working with the Korean War Veterans Association, Chapter 312, to build a memorial to ensure veterans of the war will be remembered for generations to come. The city will construct sidewalks and maintain the lighting and landscaping, while the veterans will provide the funds for the monument.
The view along South Prospect is looking different, with new street trees and repaired sidewalks. That's not the only place you'll see a new perspective. Take a walk through some of our parks. We've made improvements to the walkways at Helene Park, gave the clubhouse at the Greens Golf Course an extreme makeover, and Memorial Park is taking shape. It will feature attractive landscaping, and it will serve as a place to honor Hagerstown's history. There's more change to come just across the street from Memorial Park. Last year, plans were finalized to build a new Bester Elementary School, coming in 2014.
It will just be a place that is worthy of this community. We're going to supersize the gym so the community can come in and play and work out in this gym. We're going to make sure that the library spaces are accessible for the community. So we're really excited, not just for the kids, but for the larger community.
Safety in and around our schools is paramount. The Hagerstown Police Department and the Board of Education continue to partner to keep the school resource officers in city schools. There are 5 Hagerstown police positions dedicated to working with students and promoting safety in schools.
More drivers are hitting the brakes and slowing down in city school zones. Speed cameras are keeping an eye on traffic and letting our officers spend more time patrolling our streets. The number of drivers exceeding the 12-mile-per-hour threshold has dropped by 80 and even 90% in some areas. With the revenue from the citations, the city has been able to hire an officer dedicated to operating the camera system, and funding has been restored to 3 captain positions at the fire department.
Thanks to a federal grant, the city will be able to hire 5 additional police officers. Through the Department of Justice COPS hiring program, the department will recruit post-9/11 veterans to join the force. Senator Barbara Mikulski made a trip to the hub city to announce the award.
If you've been on the firing line, when you come back home, we don't want you on the unemployment line. We want you to have a job where you continue to protect the United States of America. And that's what these funds are going to be able to do.
Chief Mark Holtzman, a 23-year veteran officer, is now at the helm of the police department. Chosen for his dedication and involvement within the neighborhoods, his use of data to prevent and address crime, and his reputation of integrity among the public.
Citizens in the North End are receiving enhanced fire services from the Antietam Fire Company, now in their new home along North Potomac Avenue. This puts them in a strategic location across the train tracks, important for speeding up crucial response times. The Antietam Fire Company has been serving the citizens of Hagerstown for over 2 centuries.
Just want to thank the city of Hagerstown for stepping up and helping us, because our company we have the most active volunteers in the city of Hagerstown, and we appreciate their stepping up. It shows that they appreciate us, and we couldn't have done it without them.
We're also recruiting ambassadors to make a positive name for Hagerstown by overhauling our City College program, previously known as the Neighborhood College. Citizens learn how their local government works for them by meeting city staff and learning at locations throughout the city. One City College graduate was featured in a national magazine, touting the benefits of living in Hagerstown.
More information is available right at the fingertips of our citizens. The city launched a new and improved website in the spring with an updated look and easier navigation of the site. The city has an active presence on social media through Facebook and YouTube. And now you can watch mayor and council meetings on our YouTube channel. Thanks to more technology upgrades, residents can now pay their utility bills online. giving our citizens greater access to their utility information and streamlining customer service processes. The self-service web portal also gives citizens the ability to pay their real estate and personal property taxes online.
Our residents are working together to make us a more sustainable community. This year, recycling rates more than doubled under the new trash and recycling program because it's more convenient than ever. Now, all trash, recycling, and yard waste is picked up on the same day each week. All residents were given a wheeled recycling tote that's easy to roll out onto the street. And there's no more separating. All recyclables go in the same bin. Residents are rewarded for doing the right thing by recycling. They earn points each week they recycle at home, and those points can be redeemed for coupons, discounts, and free offers through the online Recycle Bank program, made possible through Recycle Bank and Waste Management.
Over 900 households will soon be getting the tools needed to conserve energy in their homes. In 2012, the city was awarded $71,000 through the Empower Maryland 2013 Clean Energy Communities Low to Moderate Income Grant. The funds will be used to purchase energy conservation kits for qualified Hagerstown Light Department customers. The city completed construction on a second enclosed water storage tank near Helene Park, replacing the 100-year-old open reservoir. The two new tanks will provide the city with 12.8 million gallons of storage capacity, providing more room for additional economic development.
The city of Hagerstown had much to celebrate in 2012. We marked our 60-year anniversary with our sister city. The Burgermeister and other representatives from Basel enjoyed a weekend in the hub city.
We are also in the midst of the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. To honor our heritage, the city collaborated with various partners for the First Call weekend held in City Park. The Washington County Museum of Fine Arts supported the event with an extensive exhibit of Civil War artifacts and art that tell the story of the war. Hailed as a museum within a museum, the Valley of the Shadow exhibit will be on display through July of this year. The city was honored to receive the 2013 Maryland Preservation Award for Excellence in Community Engagement, recognizing the city for several projects promoting our history, including 50 historic markers with an accompanying walking tour brochure, 2 Civil War documentaries, and a book about Hagerstown's Civil War history.
We also marked the 250th anniversary of the founding of our city, celebrating Hagerstown's past, present, and future in our city center. New businesses celebrated grand openings, and long-standing businesses marked milestone anniversaries. And we saw renewed interest and increased construction along the dual highway, as many national and regional chains made investments.
The city's Department of Community and Economic Development is making it easier to do business in our city center. The Partners in Economic Progress, or PEP program, is creating public-private partnerships and spurring investment in the core. Through PEP, developers are put on a fast-track approval process and permit fees are waived, speeding up their timeline.
We had to pay for all of those other things that the city has helped us with, then it would be way over our budget. We're already over the budget. So if we didn't have this thing, it would just make it so much more difficult to make a decision to go forward with a project of this size.
Once the work is complete, these developers can offer their tenants reduced rent through PEP's Upper Floor Rent Relief Program. The city will pay half your rent for 2 years, up to $1,000 a month. It helped Da Vinci Interactive hit the ground running when they moved to their new space in the Schindler Rohr building.
We wouldn't be here if it weren't for the PEP program. I don't think that we would have made that courageous jump, if you will. PEP program brought us here, but the city is keeping us here.
The Washington County Arts Council is another benefactor of the PEP program, now in their new location in the heart of the Arts and Entertainment District on South Potomac Street.
We couldn't be in a better location. We are truly the heart. We were looking for increased foot traffic, and we have that with restaurants downtown, the Barbara Ingram School, the Maryland Theater, and who knows what else is to come. But this is the block, and we're very fortunate to be here, and Bowman Development has been a wonderful partner in making us comfortable and making this our home.
There are more signs of revitalization just down the street at 140 South Potomac. The project represents business that has started, grown, and relocated in our downtown. 2012 saw a transformation at 3640 North Potomac Street as facade work was completed on the building. Behind the brick front, workers are now creating space for artist housing and a window front gallery to showcase their work. Community development staff completed renovations to the former CVS building, now the city's small business incubator. Think Re Inc. still maintains the storefront, and USMH expanded into the rear of the building, making room for 3 state-of-the-art classrooms and 3 faculty offices.
The city, particularly the folks with economic development, were just a delight to work with.
The Public Works Department oversaw an extensive study of the parking system within the downtown. The study helped the city understand our current parking needs and provided a roadmap for future parking requirements. 2012 also saw the new Washington County Free Library really taking shape. The city is thankful the library will remain a downtown destination, and we look forward to the anticipated 500,000 visitors from the library alone to our court each year.
The ability to partner on programming and events, I think, are numerous. Right across the street from Barbara Ingram and the theater, the dynamics are just so exciting, and we know that this will be a major asset, not only to the downtown, but to all of Washington County.
Maybe slightly less apparent than the brick and mortar projects, a renewed spirit of support for our city center. Downtown has a taste for dining, and business owners are working together in a spirit of cooperation rather than competition.
The locally owned restaurants down here need to work together as a team, and everybody has been wonderful in helping us, and really, really happy with the camaraderie downtown, and I think that's how downtown can thrive.
The Downtown Alliance had another successful turnout for its annual Taste of the Arts event. They also drew new interest through Fair Off the Square, a complement to the historic City Farmers Market in the Elizabeth Heger lot. The city's events in our downtown has record attendance. More people than ever came out to experience City Center as part of Blues Fest, August-Toberfest, St. Patrick's Day Run, Thunder in the Square, Bike Night, and the city's 250th anniversary celebration. The city collaborated with local businesses and organizations to create mutual success. Vital support from Public Works staff ensures these events run smoothly year after year.
It's just a good time in the year. It's like this coming of summer. Everything's happened. We get a lot of people in from out of town, and it's just a great time. And there's always good music.
We hope we've been able to show you even more reasons to love Hagerstown. We look forward to collaborating with more businesses and organizations, our partners in government, and our citizens in 2013. Together, we are committed to building community.
Give it up for the city of Hagerstown.
Please, let's recognize all of the wonderful and dedicated staff of the city of Hagerstown. Especially, I want to thank Aaron Wolf and Eric Hastings for all their work putting this video together and working with me on this whole presentation today. So please, let's thank Aaron Wolf and Eric and the rest of the city staff. As you can see, there are many wonderful things happening in Hagerstown, despite all of the negative perceptions that to this day persist for some reason. I think it's really important. I know everybody in this audience knows downtown, they go downtown, but for those who may not be in attendance with us, who might be watching this later on the internet or on the cable TV, if you haven't been downtown lately, please rediscover downtown, because there are lots of great things going on, as you can see in that video. Now, I know that there are many hot topics on everybody's mind, and the sense of anticipation and energy is just tangible here this morning because everybody's hanging on every word I say because you think I have all the answers. But let me just remind everybody that I possess a gavel and not a magic wand. There are many things that I think that we can do in the city of Hagerstown. Let me just address three of the big topics before we show the next video, which is a special invitation. One of the biggest issues, of course, was the stadium. And today marks the 100th day of this new administration. And in just 100 days, we've reviewed thousands of documents, we've had meetings, we've brought the Ripken group in to do further analysis, and they right now are working on that analysis. And before the end of April, we will be making a decision about whether or not and where to build a new stadium. It's important, I think, that we look at data to drive our decisions. We need to look to make sure that we're getting the best return on our investment. We do face a crucial juncture right now in the city of Hagerstown. We cannot afford to keep making improvements if we don't have improving revenue streams. So we are faced with really a tough choice. Do we raise people's property taxes? I would say, most of you would say, no, we don't want to raise property taxes. So we have to come up with some way to increase our revenues without increasing property taxes. And the way we do that, I think, is to make smart investments of our public money in infrastructure projects and those types of things that bring people together and improve life and the quality of life for all people. We have a need for more public-private partnerships. The city is already engaged with folks in the private sector who are willing to put skin in the game and to make investments in Hagerstown. And we need to do more of those. And I know that the Sora Group has made a proposal, and we are talking to many other folks, some of you in the audience, about how we can partner together to keep moving Hagerstown forward. I believe that not only can we create these public-private partnerships to work on the stadium, but I think that we can also work on these to build new infrastructure around our waterways. I truly believe that our waterways are some of the most undervalued and underutilized resources that we have here in our city. And I'm talking about the water that flows from out underneath the Harold Mail building every day that most people don't know about. Marsh Run that starts right underneath our founder's home. Hamilton Run, Town Run, and of course, the Antietam Creek. A huge and valuable asset to our community that I believe is completely undervalued. It's dirty, we need to clean it up, and I think the city can take a lead in being responsible in getting that done. So the city's role, I see, really is to make these kinds of investments in infrastructure improvements. And I think we need to create innovative partnerships that will increase property values because truly a rising tide will raise all ships. It will not only help the city, it will help the county, it will help the Board of Education because we'll have more money for our schools. I believe it's important, and I believe the council supports, retaining affiliated minor league baseball in the city of Hagerstown. It's important to our community. I think it's important to our identity. It gives our families something fun and affordable to do, and it brings people together. And I think that's important. The stadium can be one catalyst, but we need many others to attract large numbers of people and private investment. We have a lot of pending projects. The MELP plant will come down in 2013. We are going to get that done. Like I said before, I think we need to focus on our waterways. I think we need to look at a downtown amphitheater or something, a large gathering place that we can bring people, the plaza, those kinds of pocket parks that you saw examples of in our video. So yes, we see a need for a more focused plan, and we have a plan to bring in all the stakeholders to create a downtown plan. We'll be discussing more about this at our work session this afternoon. And I think it's important that we include all the elements of our downtown and include all the stakeholders and bring them in, get their feedback, and make sure that everyone is sharing in the vision that we all have for Hagerstown. George Bernard Shaw is famous for saying the following: people who say it cannot be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. And the fact of the matter is, lots of good stuff is going on downtown, and we hope that more people become a part of it. So we plan on focusing and continuing to focus on arts and entertainment and education in our downtown. We continue the planning process, like I said, by bringing in all the stakeholders in a city-led effort to use our existing codes and a transparent process to build these kinds of partnerships needed to move us forward. And that includes working with local developers. We have a planning commission of dedicated citizens of Hagerstown who look at all the plans that have come before us and really do the yeoman's work and really making everything happen. The hospital has to be a partner. Business and property owners have to be partners. And of course, our arts and entertainment community and fellow government agencies have to be partners in this effort. So the downtown is already a hub of employment and other kinds of activity. I was just reviewing some data earlier this morning, and there are over 3,000 jobs right in the heart of our city already. And those are just the people that come there every day to work, not to mention folks that live there or come down to visit, like we hear 500,000 people a year, every year at the library. They say that in Native American cultures, decisions are made using the 7 generations philosophy. And because we just celebrated our 250th year, it kind of makes me think of the long view of things. And I plan on being around Hagerstown for a while, and I really like to think that we need to make decisions today that keep the long view in mind. So, in Native American cultures, they will think of the wisdom of the 7 previous generations and think about the impact their decision will have on the next 7 generations. And I would hope, and I pray, and I encourage everyone to welcome the Board of Education to come downtown. And in order to do that, we put something special together. This is an invitation from our community to the Board of Education. We'd like to show that now.
Hello, neighbors. We're bringing you this message for the Washington County Public Schools. We want you to be our neighbor here in the downtown neighborhood of Hagerstown. The City of Hagerstown has made it clear we're willing to roll out the red carpet to help the Board of Education locate its central office in the center of the county seat to our downtown neighborhood. We want you to know we've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. We want you to be our neighbor.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Won't you be mine? Can't you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beautyhood, a neighborly day for beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine?
I'm a Williamsport alumni, and I'm one of nearly 500 students continuing my education at USMH. Won't you be our neighbor?
We've been serving customers downtown for the last 30 years, and we'd love to invite you to lunch. Won't you be our neighbor?
To my friends at the Board of Education, won't you join us downtown and be a part of our vibrant community? Won't you be our neighbor?
There's a lot to learn about a downtown. We welcome you to move your offices to City Center. Won't you be our neighbor?
The Downtown Alliance is a group of businesses, not-for-profit agencies, and houses of worship all working together to form a positive and brighter future. Washington County Board of Ed, won't you be our neighbors?
The Washington County Arts Council embraces all the art, entertainment, and education of downtown Hagerstown and City Center. And we invite the Board of Education to join us. Won't you be our neighbor?
Picture this. A site on West Washington Street is transformed into the new state-of-the-art central office. Situated next to the Potomac Bead Company, across the street from the University System of Maryland Hagerstown campus, in close proximity to Washington County's governmental headquarters and a short walk to City Hall, it's also around the corner from the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts, the Maryland Theater, new library, art galleries, restaurants, and various other businesses and services utilized by the greater Washington County community. The move would make the Board of Education elected officials, their executive staff, and their teams more easily accessible to the citizens, staff, and visitors, just like the neighboring governmental offices.
Hi, I'm Bob Hunley, General Manager at Bulls and Bears Pub and Eatery. Washington County Board of Education, your place at our table and warm-hearted hospitality awaits. Won't you be our neighbor?
Hi, I'm Jay here at 28 South. We'd love to have you for happy hour specials after a long day at work. Won't you be my neighbor?
High Rock invested in downtown Hagerstown in March of 2005. We started with 4 people and grew that organization to 20 people, both creative professionals and technology professionals. It's a great place to work. Won't you be my neighbor?
Maya Modeling Agency and Sprout Social Prep nurtures the mind and the manners of our youth. Won't you be our neighbor?
When we wanted to build a new library for the citizens of Hagerstown in Washington County, our library board voted unanimously to keep our library downtown. Why? Because they recognize the exciting synergy between government, education, and the arts. So, won't you be our neighbor?
We all know that this is possible. It is not make-believe. And the city is committed to working with the Board of Education, the Washington County Commissioners, and our partners to make this happen. The city has pledged its willingness to acquire property, to prep the site for new construction, and to work with our neighbors to create a new parking deck. All of us know that there will be details that we'll need to work out. The certainty that we give you today is that we are dedicated to see these concepts become our shared reality. Now, it's time to come together, all of our neighbors, and work to assist the Board of Education to locate in our downtown neighborhood. We've shown you our neighborhood, pledged our support, and shared a vision for the Board of Education's governmental headquarters. And we want you to share this vision for the Board of Education to move to our downtown neighborhood. My closing message is simply directed to the elected officials of the Board of Education. When you become our neighbor, you will be at the center of the county's seat, the core of all governmental functions, and your team members will be surrounded by arts and educational institutions, the new library, the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts, USMH, the Arts and Entertainment District. And you will join hundreds of private sector and government employees, students, business owners, the Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Hagerstown Committee, among many other organizations, and visitors who are at home in our downtown neighborhood. And it is important to note that when you move here, you will play a role in growing our neighborhood. So with that I ask, actually we ask, won't you please be our neighbor?
Let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, could you be mine? Won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor?
Thank you. And again, this is not make-believe. We can really make this happen, and it will involve a lot of communication and a lot of cooperation, and I intend to get this done. So let me just highlight some of the positive things about being located in downtown, some of which was already highlighted in this video. We are right on Route 40, okay, a major highway. Not only are we highly accessible because of that, but we are also right on the information highway. The Maryland One broadband network will be coming right in front of this site. We are committed to getting this parking deck built. We retired the debt on our Potomac deck last year, and so it's time to keep building parking infrastructure in order to attract those large numbers of people to downtown. The Barbara Ingram School, the library, some of those things have already been highlighted. We're ready to finalize conversations with the folks who own properties and secure letters of intent to make this project move forward. Again, this is not make-believe. The city of Hagerstown is ready to be a partner, and we want everybody to get behind this effort and please encourage the Board of Education to make the right decision and locate in our city center. We really need the county's cooperation and support. We also will be needing the local development community to make this happen. And finally, let me just, because one of my duties in this is to recommend some things to the City Council and some actions that we should take. And I believe we should continue strengthening our neighborhoods, and we should support, again, retaining minor league baseball in the city of Hagerstown and partner to build a new multi-use facility in the sustainable community area. We need to continue investing in infrastructure like parking decks, sidewalks, clean waterways, and parks to attract residents and investment. We have to address blight and decay in our downtown, and we need to take bold and strong action to make those properties turn around and get redeveloped. The city's been doing that. A lot of people don't like it, but the bottom line is if no one else is going to do it, the city's going to step in and do it. We'd like to have some partners in this private and to make private investments in downtown, and we look for the partnerships to do that. We should embrace our diversity and attract the creative class. It is right and it is good that we should maintain cooperation with our county, state, and federal partners for the benefit of all. We should support efforts to create jobs, jobs, jobs. I knocked on not as many doors as Don Munson last summer and into the fall, and over and over and over again, people want jobs. That is the number one thing on people's minds. We should target areas for redevelopment like the MELP and the East End and downtown and create solid plans to keep things moving forward. We need to maintain and create new public-private partnerships to benefit the public good. And last but not least, we need to remain positive. We need to make this happen. Okay, again, this is not make-believe. I encourage everyone, like I said, to get involved, to be patient, to communicate, to cooperate, and please don't hesitate to contact me. We look forward to working with all of our partners, some of you here in the audience today, and others who aren't here with us today to make this happen. And at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to John, and I think the council will be coming up to answer some questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I would like to invite and welcome up to the stage all the members of the City Council for a question and answer period here this morning. As the program recently was developed and run with the state of the county, we will follow the same and a time-honored tradition for this morning meeting where we give everybody in the audience an opportunity to write down. There are cards in the middle of your table and there's some pencils. For those of you that would have a question, we would welcome those up to the front. Chamber staff will be around the room. Just simply raise your hand, raise the card. Someone will grab it and bring it up front. So I do have a couple questions to kind of get us started, but I would encourage each of you in the audience to take this opportunity to ask your elected officials the things that are pressing to you and the questions that are on your mind. So while everybody is writing their questions down, I'll get started with just a couple. First of all, I would welcome either the mayor or any of the city council that would like to talk a little bit about the discussions that are ongoing with SORA and the redevelopment of the downtown city center, and to kind of define that relationship and give us somewhat of a year-to-date update on what's going on with those discussions. So anybody that would like to maybe field that question to begin?
I think I'll take that one. You know, first let me thank all of the people up here on the stage with me. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve these first 100 days with them, and I look forward to serving the next 3 years and 9 months with them as well, and perhaps even more. But one of the things I think is really important is that we, at least my goal, has been to maintain communication with every single one of these folks, to know what's on their minds and to hear their concerns, and to try to build a shared vision and a consensus so that we can act with one voice and in solid action. When it comes to SORA, we've had many discussions, both privately and in public, with this group. The latest proposal is basically too expensive. They're looking for $1 million, and we just don't have that kind of money for a planning process. What we do need is private investment. And so we welcome SORA and any other development company or individual who's looking to make private investments in Hagerstown and looking to turn things around. So that's where I would say we're at with SOAR. We're going to be discussing this again more at our work session today because we have a proposal from them on the table that we have not yet discussed in public. But I think from my conversations with everyone on this stage, we're very interested in the concepts and the ideas that SOAR has for a total transformation, if you will, of our town. But the question is always, at what cost? And I think right now, we don't have a consensus to spend $1 million in order to plan. The city staff, again, this will be on our agenda for later this afternoon. We're going to be asking them to figure out what parts of this planning process the city can do and what parts the city cannot do and what parts we need to outsource. And if SORA or any other group out there wants to bid on providing those services, that is the process that we'll be moving forward with. And with that, I'll just turn it over to any other council member.
If I could address that briefly. The mayor talked about $1 million for a plan. We've heard in the recent past, since the issue with the Board of Education came up, what's the plan? When are you going to have a plan? We don't want to invest without a plan. We don't want to be the only ones. Folks, how many plans do we need? We just turned out an EDC plan. How much did that cost? We just, within the last 12 months, had a plan funded for arts and entertainment. They all say the same thing that the body up here is saying. The plan is for downtown Hagerstown to be an educational hub. It has been a plan, and it has been put in effect. And for anybody to say, well, the board doesn't want to be the only piece, I can only look around and say, Barbara Ingram School isn't a piece. University system isn't a piece. The future of having a 4-year art school downtown isn't a piece. So the Board of Education isn't the plan, isn't the only piece. And we have plans galore, and they all say the same thing. And an integral part of those plans say the Board of Education should be downtown. Member Bailey, who I appreciate very much, Paul Bailey, said at our meeting, geez, it would have been good to have the stadium and the board downtown. But the other thing he said is for decades, the theory has been the board needs to come downtown. For 18 months, we've had studies to get the board downtown. And one of the reasons I wanted to address this is because I'm going to have to leave probably 5 or 10 minutes early because I have court. And where do I have court? I have court in the district court this morning. And where's the district court located? The place that Paris Glendenning and every responsible state legislature has said about smart growth, downtown. When we wanted to put the university system in, people said, not downtown. It is downtown. When people said, don't put Barbara Ingram downtown, it is downtown. Their successes, the library is a success. These are all successes, ladies and gentlemen, just as the district court is. And so we have a plan, and when it comes to SORA, when it comes to various people out in this audience, you know, we have to implement this plan now. So what we need is equity partners to implement the plan, to make it reasonable, to get the Board of Education downtown. So when the question is asked, they can't say it was more expensive and there was no parking, because the city plans to put together a proposal that will make it no more expensive and will supply plenty of parking. Thank you, and I'm sorry that I'm going to have to leave early.
Thank you. 2 questions came up from the audience. The first one, how much money would the city be willing to invest in a project to bring the Board of Education downtown? So I guess they're asking us to quantify that offer.
I think the answer is an amount that would make it cost neutral to bring the board downtown. So one of the questions is, how much is Allegheny Energy going to cost? That's a question that needs to be answered. The board needs to know that, and we need to know that. So if Allegheny Energy is going to cost $8 million and coming downtown is going to cost $16 million, I would think the city would be putting up $8. along with its equity partners.
Well, I think the question is a bit broader than that, and speaking specifically to the Board of Education plan, if I were a Board of Education member sitting there and the difference between the options were more than $2 million, it would be very hard for me as an elected official to look at the public and say some amount greater than $2 million, I'm going to make a decision to go to Allegheny Power. I think if it's less than that between the options, then I think that the city and the county and our respective partners could meet that middle ground, so to speak. But I think the question being larger than that is, if you look at things that we have done in the past, and I use this example over and over with the county administration building. When I was with the Board of County Commissioners, probably unpopularly, we bought the PNC building. And what that did at the end of the day was, after a decade of discussion, for me, it ended that debate on where should the county commissioners and the county administration building go, and there was talk then of the Allegheny Power building. But to me, at that time, and I pushed heavily for that purchase, and I knew at the end of the day it was simply going to cost more for the county to locate its central offices downtown. That's just a fact of life. But at the end of the day, that investment, I think, was a greater opportunity to make in ending that debate and saying, the county administration building should be downtown. And I had this plan of, moving from 80 West Baltimore over to the PNC building, get that up and running, put a parking deck where we have a lot next to the transit center. And so I think that we need to think, and I think the mayor hit on this earlier, in those terms of those major governmental entities, being in our urban core and within proximity of one another. So I think that serves as an example when we discuss the Board of Ed project.
I would like to make this comment. Even as far back as Governor Harry Hughes in the 1970s, government realized that it needed to take an active role in saving downtowns. I believe the school board belongs in downtown. I believe that all government agencies belong in downtowns. I was one of those people sitting on the budget committee, the capital budget committee, when that courthouse that Lou mentioned was built. And there was a lot of pressure to not put it in downtown, but the cool heads prevailed and it went downtown. There wasn't going to be any money for it if it didn't go downtown, because I had the ability to stop it at that point. But Governor Harry Hughes issued an executive order when he was governor that all state agencies belong in downtowns, primarily of the county seat, to the extent possible. I think that's a good policy. It's a reasonable policy. It's a responsible policy, because if downtown fails, the county's not going to be far behind, or at least paying for it. And I would encourage the school board to think about that action of Governor Harry Hughes and how they can follow that.
If I could just say, one of the things I think everybody should realize, and people have stated it over and over, that as Hagerstown goes, so goes Washington County. So I think if you keep in mind that if we make improvements and we increase the value of property in downtown, it not only helps the city of Hagerstown, again, it helps Washington County, and to an extent, it helps the Board of Education as well. And so I think moving downtown can be a win-win. I don't know why the Board of Education would want to own property. It seems that the situation they're in now, being with $5.5 million of deferred maintenance, is because, rightfully so, they want that money to go out and to be spent on the children and their education. And so I think the downtown offers a more efficient and effective way of managing the property that's necessary to maintain central office functions.
and I think it also offers to create that synergy between all the different governmental agencies and is more highly accessible to the people.
Summarize. We need to, as a community, come together and make this happen. It's not the city paying whatever it takes. That's not fair to our taxpayers. You all know that a central location is where this facility ought to be. So we need to pressure all the parties involved to come to the right decision, not just the city, or not just tell the city, do whatever it takes. We have a budget session immediately following our discussions of the school board and SORA. I think we have them reversed because, you know, this city has done a very good job with its budget over the last 4 years since the 2008 crisis. You don't hear the things coming out of the city, the squeals and the problems and the things falling through the cracks that you hear in many municipalities since this fiscal crisis started. We're going to have a hard time sustaining that without raising those infamous taxes. So with that, I am willing to make any reasonable approach to the board, but we can't keep moving the football, and you know, we have to be able to discuss it with them, find what their real needs are, and find real needs, real ways of meeting them that we can all deal with and we can all afford.
Thank you. Switching gears on individual project opportunities. Question here. Councilman Metzner said that studies show putting everything downtown is the answer. Why not the stadium downtown?
That's a real good question. I support the stadium downtown.
I want to respond to that. You know, most people out there in this audience and a lot of the citizens and the businesses and the greater Washington County community, frankly, didn't read this information. That's a fact. And it is not those folks and your folks' responsibility to do that. It's the elected bodies. It is also the elected body's responsibility to openly and honestly share this information from its outset, all of it, when we're talking about a project of that magnitude of investing the public's money. But that didn't happen. And the reality behind that is this. 2 weeks into taking office, we find that there is no $15 million donor. We find that the lease isn't anywhere close to completion, that the assessments on the properties for acquisition were anywhere close, and there was nearly double the funding being requested for acquisition of those properties to make it happen. The infrastructure related items were not complete. The state had not issued any letter of edict that funding was available. And at the end of the day, that the city's ability to produce the $400 and some thousand needed to cover the cost, the debt service on that project, was banked on the fact that 6 years down the road, after the project would be up and running, that property values would increase 326% to generate the $400,000. Now, I understand the question, but the fact is, when you take that position and you take that responsibility to read this information, your responsibility is to make an educated decision based on that information.
I could just say that I've always said that it may very well be that the downtown site is the best place based on return on investment. But we had no basis for comparison to make that decision, which is why we are undertaking further analysis, bringing back the Ripken Group to look at 2 other sites, one of which is the old hospital, one of which is somewhere in the East End next to or at where the current stadium is. And I think it's important, my colleagues here have shared the major concern, which is how do you pay for it? If the stadium were completely privately funded, I would say build it wherever it meets all the code and zoning regulations and have at it. But the bottom line is there is a very large public investment that's necessary to make a project like that happen. And I agree with my colleagues, at least with Kristen, who says we have to have a transparent process. And again, we have to look at all the data. So, we're going to have more data coming in. If as many, I hear there's about 150 people here today, and if I asked everybody where does downtown begin and end, we would get probably 150 different answers to that question. So it's all relative based on maybe perhaps where you own property or where you run a business or where you live in the city of Hagerstown. But truly, where I see us focusing is on our sustainable community area. And anywhere that a stadium is built within that area can benefit not only the residents around it, but the whole city as a whole. And again, it can benefit the whole county if we're bringing in more tax revenue from properties and other activities.
Being on the last council, I would say the last council, because of the fact that the private funding wasn't assured, because so we did not approve a bond issue that had been proposed. We did not approve certain lease terms until we knew where the rest of the funding was going to come. So that to say that the council said it was funded, we had a presentation, a large public hearing in October to put out what the funding sources were, but none of us said that funding was guaranteed. In fact, many of us said that was the issue. So, but I do agree with Kristen that finding the funding is an issue. That stadium is not funded, whether it's in the East End, whether it's out at the interstate, or whether it's downtown. But here's my point. If you're going to spend that amount of money, then it belongs downtown. The parking garage, for instance, is an enormously expensive undertaking. To build it without a dedicated facility to guarantee revenues, Aunt Susie's paying a lot of money for that parking garage and will be in perpetuity. The stadium would help offset that by a significant amount, provided the locations were all correct. So, I think there's been a lot of stuff thrown out about the process, and obviously that worked because the majority of this council doesn't agree with that. But once again, if we're going to spend the amount of money for a proper minor league stadium, I think downtown is the logical place for it for the reasons I cited.
Private money. That's the bottom line.
Right.
We need more private investment in a project to make this happen.
Dave is definitely right about that. I said that at this session a year ago, I believe.
And I think what we also need, I would propose that there would be a separate authority that is set up to oversee the management of the stadium and to make sure that it's fiscally sound, and that we bring on board more private investors who can participate in that authority to be stakeholders and shareholders, if you will. There's been ideas to have individuals or private corporations be able to buy into as shareholders of a new facility, and I think we need to explore all the different options that are out there and be innovative and create a very significant public-private partnership to make this thing happen.
One other question that had come up to the front of the room. I ask each of you as individuals and as a mayor and council, what do you want your individual and collective legacy to be?
Start with Penny.
And why would we do that?
Because we haven't heard from you yet, Penny.
I just love to speak. I would like to see Hagerstown become a great Hagerstown. When I was a child, I was born and raised here, and it was wonderful. It has declined, and it has declined long before, almost 12 years now, that I was on council. No one, I don't believe, was really looking at a huge improvement of or trying to rebuild. But I would hope that my legacy would be is that I tried very hard to get the very best down here. And all of the opposition with stadium, the stadium, in my view, I feel should be out in that east end of town. I don't feel that it should be in the downtown. We have a lot that is downtown, and the Maryland Theater is the biggest jewel that we do have, and we are not using that to our advantage. I just look for a greater Hagerstown. That's the end of my speaking.
Thank you, Penny.
You're welcome.
It's hard to top that. A vibrant Hagerstown, a place where education is readily available to anyone who wants education. I was born and raised in Hagerstown. I grew up in Hagerstown. And when I graduated from high school in Hagerstown, one of the sayings was, it's a great place to live and work and play. The only problem is you can't get a job and you can't get an education. Well, that has changed to some extent, but not nearly a large enough extent. We do need more education in downtown Hagerstown. We need more arts in downtown Hagerstown. And this is not exactly Republican talk, but I'm going to say it anyhow. We need more government in downtown Hagerstown, and that would be a school board. We need a vibrant downtown Hagerstown that attracts people and is a place where people really want to go on a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon. I think that this council is determined to work toward that end and to make it happen. Thank you.
Unlike everyone else, I'm an adopted son of Hagerstown, and I've been spending a lot of time here for 18 years, and so relatively short time. But I do have the perspective of having lived in a lot of different communities, a lot of different places, and some professional experience along those lines. I really meant what I said in the video. I think Hagerstown is a great place, unlike many of its citizens, unfortunately. The negativity that I'd experienced during the election and other times, it's unfortunate. I wish we could all take a better view of what we have and appreciate it. I'm so afraid that this community, in the process of rushing forward, will lose some of its assets and become more like the metropolitan area. I would like to steal some of the assets of the metropolitan area, particularly some of the better private enterprise firms that might want to find a more welcoming host than around the city and move out here. But we shouldn't lose the convenience, the friendliness, the things that make us different from across the mountains. We should preserve our rural areas. There's plenty of room for urban expansion without damaging our rural areas. We have a beautiful community here, and again, as an 18-year newcomer, I can really appreciate it. So I hope, as far as the city goes, obviously downtown, although I think it looks a lot better than it did in 1994, I think that, underneath we need to find a way, and I think we'll find that. There will be a breakthrough. But we just got to keep working at it. There aren't easy answers, despite some of the things that are put forward. But I think we'll keep working at it, and I hope we're coming out of that. And at the same time, I hope we keep a strong fiscal foundation for the city and the county as we move forward through the years. We've done a good job with that. We need to keep it.
I'm going to reference a gentleman that I have a great deal of respect for in the community. The gentleman that I talked to when I first decided to run for office in 2001, and you can all flog him after this event for that, is Bill Brickner. I don't have any intent, I didn't get involved in public service to create some legacy. I simply made a decision at a young age that this is where I wanted to live and work and raise a family. Fortunately, I was able to find a young lady from the North End that agreed to live at the South End with me, so that was a good thing for us. But in his closing remarks, in leaving the mayorship, what was that, 2006, I guess, he remarked on a gentleman that used to work at the water plant up in the Smithsburg area, an older gentleman, and I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but Bill said basically in his closing remarks that here's a plant that was named after him, and You know, it should have been named after the gentleman that worked at that plant every day for years, that simply came there and did his job, and that's what you do when you enter public service. You simply come to work and you do your job every day, and that at the end of the day is your legacy. So.
I'd like to echo what Chris said about not really thinking about a legacy, but just earlier I was sharing a story about when I was in 8th grade and was told by our teachers, they gathered us all in one classroom and said to us, "This is the most apathetic group of students to ever come through this school." It says that everywhere. And I took that personally. And so I decided to get involved, much like probably everybody on this stage, because I really care about this community. So if there were any legacy, it would be the camping philosophy of leave no trace or leave a place better than when I found it. And that would probably be what I would hope for. And just one note, I would like to say, look at how the conversation has changed with regard to a stadium. No longer are we really discussing whether or not this is a good idea, but we're talking about where and how to pay for it. And I think that's a key indicator that this is a very important project, that I think that we have room to build a consensus. And, you know, again, and it's been said too by Marty, we have a collective self-esteem problem in Hagerstown. So if there was any legacy that I could leave behind, I would hope that it would be to increase community pride by just performing as best as I can and leading by example. So thank you.
Well, at this point, I'd like to thank the mayor and council for their participation this morning, and on behalf of the chamber and the business community, thank you for being here, and thank you for answering our questions. I would like to draw your attention to a couple upcoming events before we close the meeting this morning. We do have an orientation for new members on the 12th. We have a tips and tricks, computer tips and tricks at Kaplan University on the 15th. There's an eggs and issue that's on a similar topic. Next week at the Ramada on the 13th has to do with the government and the opportunities at Fort Detrick. And then there's a book club on the 20th, and the business after hours is being hosted this month on the 21st by Copy Quick here in downtown Hagerstown. So again, thank each of you for being here this morning. Thanks to the mayor and council. Have a great day.